a brief about myself, and then I will give the mic for other speakers. Just for your information, today we will have, I will just start with Mrs. Maha, Akeel, Sumaya Farouqi, Sarah Qureshi, and Sharifah Alawi, and Muna Diab. We're really happy to have you with us today in the same panel. So I'm Ayat Amir. I'm an engineer. I'm a software engineer. I grew up in Jordan, and then I moved to the US. I studied at Stanford University. I continued my software engineering there. And then I was a product manager with Google San Francisco. The thing is, I'm a Palestinian refugee who born and raised in a refugee camp in Jordan. Life was never easy for me. So I think perseverance and having that dream is the thing that motivated me to be the person who am I today. I went from a refugee camp to the Silicon Valley. I studied there, and I started working with one of the top tech companies around the world. And I'm also now the youth ambassador of Jordan at the United Nations. So I'm trying to talk on behalf of youth of Jordan, trying to say or talk more about the challenges we have as youth and women, especially in the tech industry, and especially as like for us as Muslims women. And this is also a point that I would love all of you to comment on it. Being a woman in the ecosystem, the science, medicine, it's really hard. It's not easy. It's just like men. It's really hard for us. And I also want each of you to just comment on these things, like how what it means to be a woman in this industry, and how hard is it to be a woman in this industry. And also I want to mention that we usually, like as youth from the Middle East, we usually talk about the challenges we have, and we give ourselves excuses, like I can't do this because we have war. Let's say we have the economic in my country is really bad, I can't get a job. It's never about your country, it's more about you and your dream and what you want to be in the future. So I always encourage people, and especially women from the Middle East, to dream big and just have a dream and start working on it. And for sure, you will be able one day to achieve your dream if you really want it. This was a brief about me and my story. And now we will move to Maha Akeel, the Director of Social and Family Affairs at the Jeddah-based Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? We're really proud to have you with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. So I will leave the stage for you now to share with us your story and to inspire more women as a role model.
Thank you very much. Actually, your story is very inspirational and a role model for many other young girls and young women. So I will start my presentation by speaking briefly about myself, but really I think the attention and the experiences that we will hear is from the young women we have on the panel today. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum everyone. His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan, President of ICYF, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, respectful attendees, it gives me immense pleasure to address you all in this important event organized by ICYF within its continuous effort to provide capacity building for youth and ensure their civic engagement and to respond effectively to their needs, problems, and challenges, particularly those faced by young Muslim women from the post-COVID-19 period. I would like to seize this opportunity to express the appreciation of the OIC Joint Secretariat to ICYF for this significant summit and for the invitation forwarded to participate in it. I'm particularly humbled to be on this panel with such impressive young women in the field of science. I'm myself not a scientist, but allow me to start my contribution today with briefly sharing my early personal perspective on science, as well as the experience of my country, Saudi Arabia. in issues relevant to women and their participation in scientific education and workforce. And then I will elaborate on the issue in the Arab and the Muslim world as well as worldwide. And at the end, I will share the OIC efforts and experience in enhancing the participation of women in scientific education and the work fields. So for me, as a young girl, I was not really fond of physics in school, but I was very much aware of its importance as a subject, having grasped the significance of gravity, the atom, and theory of relativity. On the other hand, I did enjoy biology and chemistry, dissecting frogs and mixing chemicals in the lab. I was also good at math and algebra. At one point, I considered going for a scientific field of study or becoming a doctor, but I did not think for the bloody part of medicine. Female members of our family at that time who had pursued a degree in science or math either became teachers or stayed at home because after graduation because of the limited job opportunities for women in the field at that time. Many women also dropped out of medical school and other scientific fields, or leave work after getting married and having children. Generally, at that time, fewer girls went into scientific fields compared to the humanities, business, and arts. However, during the past 10 years, things have changed considerably for women in Saudi Arabia, with more colleges in computer science and engineering, in addition to medicine and medical sciences opening up. Also, there are more job opportunities too. In a recent report by the Saudi Education Ministry, women outnumbered men in graduating with a bachelor's degree in biology, information technology, mathematics, statistics, and physics. Saudi women now are serving as leaders in the research fields, and many have gone on to serve as deans, directors of research centers, and more. However, looking globally, women around the world still face many hurdles during their education and careers in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. Despite the important and groundbreaking commitments made by the international community to shape policies and strategies that help in achieving gender equality in STEM education and workforce, the gaps remain wide and persistent at graduate, postgraduate, doctorate levels, as well as in professional female scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and researchers. This is not only in developing countries, but also in developed countries. The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has proven without doubt the important role of science and technology in our lives and its potential in the future for all sectors, and as an integral element of progress and development. Therefore, it is now crucial more than ever to tackle gender inequality in STEM. Distinguished participants, on February 11, we celebrated the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Unlike in previous years, this time we felt the critical role of science and medicine in our lives firsthand. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, scientists and medical personnel have been fighting the virus, advancing our knowledge of it, and developing techniques for testing and vaccinating against it, all while also treating and caring for the infected. And female scientists and doctors have been at the center of this effort. Let's not forget the scientists who developed the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine were a husband and wife team. Nevertheless, just as the coronavirus disease has had a negative impact on women's family life and employment, it has also had a significant negative impact on women scientists, particularly those in the early stages of their career. This will contribute to widening the existing gender gap in science and will reveal the gender disparities in the scientific system, according to UNESCO. At least 30% of researchers worldwide are women. According to UNESCO data from 2014 to 2016, only 35% of all female students around the world select STEM-related fields in higher education. Globally, female students' enrollment is particularly low in information and communications technologies, only 3%, natural science, mathematics, and statistics, 5%, and engineering, manufacturing, and construction, 8%. UNESCO has called for new policies, initiatives, and mechanisms to support women and girls in science. In order to do that, we need to understand the factors that deter women from pursuing careers in STEM. Among these factors are gender biases, social norms and expectations influencing the quality of the education girls receive and the subjects they study. This gender disparity is a serious problem in all countries, especially as STEM careers are often referred to as the jobs of the future, driving innovation, social well-being, inclusive growth, and sustainable development. Scientists will play a key role in addressing the challenges of food security, climate change, clean energy, health, water, sanitation, in addition to our everyday lives and activities through computers and gadgets. It is imperative that we encourage girls and women to enter STEM education and careers and continue in the field. Statistics show there has been an incremental increase in the enrollment of female students on STEM degree courses, but this is not translating into a greater presence of women in high-level decision and policymaking roles. According to recent studies, 41% of PhD students in STEM fields are women. Among these, only 28% are on a tenure track. Disproportionate differences in the share of women researchers also exist at regional and national levels. In regions such as Central and Eastern Europe, the Arab world, Latin America, and the Caribbean and Central Asia, women make up between 39% and 48.5% of researchers, and this is on the higher end. On the other hand, in North America, Western Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, East Asia, and the Pacific, and South and West Asia, the figure is between 23.1% and 32.9%. It is interesting to note that many Arab and Muslim countries are doing much better than many Western countries of the global north, such as Switzerland, Germany, UK, and Norway, which is extremely encouraging and reassuring that investment made in women's education can have a great dividend in terms of socioeconomic transformation. According to UNESCO, 34 to 57% of STEM graduates in Arab countries are women. They make up, for example, 64% of Jordanian students, like Ayat, in the natural sciences, medicine, dentistry, and pharmacy, as well as 60% of engineering students in the Gulf countries, compared with only 30% in the US and Europe. Irrespective of these numbers, however, the translation of STEM graduates into a skilled workforce and high-level decision makers is marred by various dropouts. In Arab countries, the average proportion of women scientists stands at 17%. This persistent problem in higher education and academia is the leaky pipeline, a term that refers to the disproportionate rate at which qualified women leave science as they move up the educational and career ladder. Globally, women account for only 16% of managers in the information technology industry, 3% of CEOs, and 20% of chief financial officers. According to research, this dropout rate is due to various reasons, including work-life balance conflicts, a hostile environment from coworkers, gender discrimination, relatively few professional development opportunities, especially in fieldwork, and a lack of role models and mentors. Dear participants, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, according to its charter, as well as the OIC 2025 Program of Action, has always put social affairs as a priority with particular concern for the promotion of women empowerment. The OIC Plan of Action for the Advancement of Women, adopted in 2016, has identified education as one of its main objectives and stated as a goal providing equal opportunity for all women and girls to have access to quality education at all levels of vocational and skills training, as well as literacy programs. In this respect, the OIC member states, which are 57 member states, have stressed their support to the OIC goals and plans for gender equality, particularly in education. The 7th Ministerial Conference on Women, which was held in Burkina Faso in 2018, adopted a resolution on promoting STEM education for women. The resolution urged member states to take legislative and executive measures to offer STEM programs for women, with the view to bridge the gap between women's education and the demands of the labor market. It also called OIC relevant institutions to support building of the necessary capacity for STEM programs in member states and to facilitate the exchange of knowledge and experiences among member states, including through training programs. Stemming from this mandate, the OIC General Secretariat, for example, in partnership with the Islamic Development Bank and in collaboration with the Standing Committee for Scientific and Technological Cooperation and the Islamic World Organization for Education, Science, and Culture, which are three very important institutions, part of the OIC family of institutions, and have very important programs for supporting women in STEM fields. We held a webinar last year to evaluate the status of the inclusion of women into quality STEM education in OIC member states. The webinar aimed to highlight the importance of addressing the gender gap in STEM, not only in primary, secondary, and tertiary education, but also in the vocational education and skill development trainings and courses, as well as in careers, in order to ensure women's active involvement in the development of their countries and to secure for them quality and productive careers. There is no doubt that we need to work hand in hand at all levels with all partners to advance the agenda for women education in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation to achieve the real gender equality that we all aim for within the guidelines and value of our Islamic world. Together, we must ensure that women's participation in innovation is not the exception in OIC member states, but becomes the norm of life and work. At the end of my speech, I would like to seize the opportunity again to thank all the respectful panelists and participants for their kind attention. I would also like to extend my gratitude and thanks to ICY for this great platform and initiative, because we do need to highlight, promote, and reward women achievers in the field of science and in all fields so that they can stand as pioneers and role models for future generations. I wish the program of the summit every success, and thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Maha. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you for this amazing and comprehensive speech. Dear participants and our distinguished guests, unfortunately, Ms. Ayat couldn't continue the program as a moderator due to the internet problem in Jordan. Yes, the country is cutting the internet for political issues. On behalf of her, I will moderate the session. And without any further delay, I would like to give the floor to Sumaya Farugi, the team leader of the Afghan robotics developer. She was the part of the BBC's list of the 100 most influential women in the world. Yes, Sumaya, the floor is all yours.
Hi, Excellencies, respected dignitaries, men, women, and especially young girls around the world. I want to start my words by there are millions of girls around the world who are curious. Girls love number, engineering, art, technology, science, but who are deterred by harmful gender equality, by lack of support of their family, their community, and by gender equality. This unfortunate that even in 2021 there are many girls that they face with their a lot of barriers in their pursuit of their education, especially when they choose to study STEM. Particularly, 132 million girls remain out of school, a number that harms every individual living in a society, especially including men and boys also in their countries. For example, in Afghanistan has the highest number of the young population around the world. For example, 63% below 25 and 46% below 15. And this young generation are the active population in our country. But this young generation, they face a lot of threats in their countries. For example, in our country, we can say that insecurity. It's about 4 decades that we are not secure in our country. Another problem is poverty. That in this year, COVID-19 also added in our challenge. And also a lot of different problems for the girls, for example, child marriage, not enough female teacher in the schools, and also not enough female schools in the far distance for the girls. And it's a big problem for the girls, especially for the girls in our new generation. The major impact of all these treats is for the girls and women in our country. But beside of all these treats, all this challenge in our country, there are some teams, some groups that they work. For example, the Afghan girls robotic team, our team. At the first time, our team was built by Digital Citizen Fund. They took an exam from 115 girls around the school of Herat City, and from 150 girls, just 6 girls that they have the permission of their family, they had the passport, and also they have more information about the robotic, about the electrical and mechanic they accepted. After that, we started to participate in different competitions. For example, in First Global in 2017. As you know, unfortunately, twice our visa was rejected. But we didn't quit. We want to carry on, and by the help of the social media, we can reach our voice to the Congress of America and also to the White House. And by helping of some member of the Congress and White House, finally we got the visa and we participated in that competition. And fortunately, we got the silver medal. It was our first step for our working, and after that we participated in a lot of countries, in a lot of competition, and we got a lot of medals and awards, and a lot of achievement. So engineering for me is about endless possibilities. It's about designing new innovations, new technologies to helping my people to serve in my countries, as our team, the Afghan girls robotic team, did 1 year ago. As COVID-19 cases increased in our country, and also the number of ventilator was rare in our country, and it was very costly, so we decided to build a low-cost ventilator for our country and to support the patient of COVID-19. So after that, by the help of our teachers, some engineers in our country and out of the country, we built this ventilator. It wasn't an easy task for us. We had a lot of problem in this way. For example, we didn't have enough money to get the parts, and so beside of the parts, we instead of them we used the car parts. So, but we by all of the challenge and by all of the problems we carry on, and finally it took us 5 months to build these devices. For example, ventilator, UV robot, spray robot, and also developing some games to support the COVID-19, to aware the people from the COVID-19 how to how they can protect that. A common stereotype that we face as girls in STEM is that we are genius. What I would like to say to every girl that you don't need to be genius in order to succeed as an engineer, a doctor, a mathematician, and everything that you want to be. What girls need is equal opportunities, equal learning in a STEM field and in every field that they want to be, and also encouragement of their family member, their people, their teachers to believe on their abilities. We need to be freedom to experiment, to learn, to be creative, and to serve other people. I ask from all the girls to have a big goal, have a big view for the future. And also I ask from their parents to please let your children, especially your daughter, to go to school. Because educating of one boy, it means educating of one person. But educating of one girl, it means educating of a family. So this is a big benefit for our new generation and for our country. And also I ask from international communities to please invest on the STEM field, because this is very important for the girls. Invest on STEM field for the girls and all around the world, for especially for countries like Afghanistan. And also please support our voice against every violence that we have in our countries. What I would like to say to every girl that now STEM is very important in every part of the world, and it's the main key that we can carry on, we can have a good future for ourselves, for our country, and for everybody around the world. So please believe on your abilities, faith on your abilities, and carry on in the way that you want. as our team. If we quit in 2017, now we didn't be in this position, because we didn't quit. We carry on. We had a lot of problem, but every problem for us was a new start. So because all of this, we could continue, and now we are the Afghan dreamers. And every girl can be a dream, uh, can be a very big person in the future. So please faith in your dreams, and if you quit in your dreams, you will never know how great you can be. And thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Somaya, for your inspiring speech. And firstly, I would like to congratulate you on your success. And I'm sure that your story will inspire all of our young participants. Yes, dear participants, now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Sarah Qureshi. She is an aerospace engineer and the CEO of Aero Engine Craft, and I would like to inform you that Aero Engine Craft, the first private company, aviation company in Pakistan that focuses on environment-friendly aircraft engines. Yes, Sarah, the floor is yours, please.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. I'm Dr. Sarah Qureshi, CEO and co-founder of Aero Engine Craft Private Limited. Aero Engine Craft is Pakistan's first commercial research and development aircraft engine company. By profession, I'm an aerospace engineer as well as a hobby pilot. At Aero Engine Craft, we are developing the first generation of environmentally safe aircraft engines for the global aviation industry. The engine product is called a contrail-free aircraft engine. So I'll just try to explain what contrails are. Contrail is basically this white smoke that you see coming out of the aircraft engine during flight. It is basically frozen water vapor, because whenever you burn any fuel, you get water vapor and carbon dioxide as the two combustion byproducts. And since we are very high up in the atmosphere where the temperature is very cold and the pressure is low, it freezes into an artificial cloud, and that is visible behind the aircraft. Now, this artificial cloud has a global warming potential which is 5 times more than carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is contributing like 3 to 4% to aviation-induced global warming in the atmosphere, whereas contrails or condensation trails are contributing 15 to 20% to global warming in the atmosphere. So I started this work during my PhD. It was given to me as a research question, and because it had a lot of global impact and commercial impact, so the university highlighted that it should be taken beyond a PhD research and converted into a commercial product. My story basically is that I was born and raised in Pakistan. I did my undergraduate mechanical engineering from Pakistan. Then I worked in the automotive industry for a few years. And meanwhile, I learned flying, and I got my private pilot license. After that, I got a scholarship to Cranfield University in the UK for aerospace engineering in the field of aerospace dynamics, which is like designing the controls of aeroplanes. And so I went there for my scholarship. I did my master's there on the air-to-air refueling of drones. And meanwhile, I also learned acrobatic flying, because in the UK, all aviation students are given some exposure to flying. They're given 2 flights just to understand what they're doing and what they're designing, how it feels actually to fly what you are making. So since I was already a pilot, I learned acrobatic flying, which is like, you see in air shows when the plane flies upside down or makes a loop or spins downwards. So I did that there, and then I came back to my country. I got married, and then I went back for a PhD on another scholarship on jet engines, basically, which is aerospace propulsion. So I did a bit of my PhD there, and then my husband was working in Pakistan. My daughter was born, and so I came back to Pakistan with my daughter, and I did part of my research here. I decided to continue my PhD and continue it from Pakistan. And I was helped by my father, who's also a retired, a very experienced scientist of Pakistan, for my PhD. And during that course, when we were working on, environmentally safe aircraft engines, he came up with two inventions that we got patented internationally, and I developed the entire engineering model of that design um, during my PhD. And then later, as I went back to complete my PhD, and the university said that we must make it into a commercial product for the global aviation industry. So after my PhD, I came back to Pakistan, and with my father, I set up Pakistan's first commercial aerospace research and development company in the domain of aircraft engines. Because earlier than this, all aerospace or aviation that takes place in Pakistan is either in the defense domain or it is with the airline operations. So I take a lot of pride in saying that this is Pakistan's first company of its kind. And even in the world, there are many people, a lot of people are working on environmentally safe aircraft engines now, because environment is one of our sustainable development goals all over the world. And the aviation industry is also participating, and they're trying to redesign all their aeroplanes and their operations and their engines based on environment friendly technologies. So contrail-free aero engine is also one of the environment-friendly technologies. There's a lot of research in the world that is going on in this field, but there is no commercial company as such in the world that is trying to make it into a commercial product.
Yes, Sarah, we are listening. Miss Sarah, your microphone is turned off.
Okay. So this is the world's first company that is making environment-friendly, contrail-free aero engines for the aviation industry. And so I call our company Born Global, which means that although we are a Pakistani company, but we have a global market, because there are only 2 or 3 main companies that are making aircraft engines and aircraft for commercial flying. As you must have seen when you travel, nobody's traveling these days, but when you travel, you either travel in a Boeing plane, like for long haul flights, or you travel in an Airbus. So there are just two of those big companies. And I think that it is very important to highlight the pollution and the global warming that is going on in the atmosphere due to flying and due to aviation, because we might be living in different regions, we might have different problems of climate change and environment in our regions, but we all share the same sky. We have one planet, and we are under one roof. So it's not that it's my problem or your problem, it's everybody's problem, and it's everybody's planet. So so that's why and since it's a very specialized field, I always try to highlight it internationally as well. And the other issue with global warming due to aviation in the sky is that it's not visible. Like if there's pollution or climate change or global warming on the ground, you can see it, so you react to it. But because it's in the atmosphere, it's not visible. And secondly, there are no offsets. We cannot grow trees in the sky. So whatever technology that we do use has to be on the aircraft, it has to be on the plane, and then it has to be airworthy, it has to be fail safe, because if you know, like your car breaks down, you can just park it on the road and walk home, but if your aircraft, God forbid, breaks down, or your engine breaks down, there's no backup. So whatever we take in the air, first of all, it has to be lightweight, and secondly, it has to be very, very safe. So that makes all the technologies, aviation, airborne technologies, very, very challenging. So yes, this work in that context is very challenging, but I think it is also equally important. And secondly, I would also like to tell you that in the atmosphere, there are two main contributors due to aviation. One is carbon dioxide and the other is contrails. Now, carbon dioxide is a phenomena. We all know that even on ground, we have this issue of global warming due to carbon dioxide. So there is a lot of awareness about it. And there are a lot of technologies that are being developed to mitigate this problem. And some of these technologies are even transposed into the air, into the aviation industry to, deal with this issue. But when you talk about condensation trails or contrails, it's a problem which is specific to the aviation industry alone, and the knowledge around it is very limited. It is always it lies within the industry, and since we cannot, like on the ground, you can always have like an emission treatment plant around the industry or around a polluted region, but with aircraft you cannot have any auxiliary system. Whatever technology is there has to be on the engine and on the aircraft. So I launched this company with my father in 2018, where we took the design work and our inventions and my work from my PhD to convert it into a product, a real life engineering product that can be used by aircraft. And initially, in aviation, we first developed the technology on a small scale as a prototype, and we test it. Then we test it in the air, and then we make it on the original size, and then we test it again, and then we launch it commercially after certification to make it airworthy and fail safe. So in this first phase, alhamdulillah, we have developed the prototype, the small scale version of our engine that we are testing these days. And then inshallah, in the next phase, we would be we hope to collaborate with the aviation industry, and we hope to make the large scale product, and then we test it on an actual aircraft. And I look forward to the day that when all the aircraft in the world will accommodate this technology, and inshallah, we will be flying with this engine in safe, cleaner engines. So I would now just like to show you like a 4 to 5 minute profile video of my work, and then I'm open to questions. Okay, I'm just trying to share the screen. Okay, where are we? Videos and okay, I'm not able to play this because I think we are in the call. Okay, for some reason I'm not able to play it, but it's okay.
Okay, Sarah. Okay. Did you finish your speech?
So I stopped.
Okay. Thank you for...
Yes, I finished my speech, but I wasn't able to play the video because maybe some settings in Zoom, they were not allowing me to play during the call.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, if you wish, you can share the video, and then after the session, we will send this video to our participants. It's up to you.
Okay, maybe you can share my social media links with the participants, and they can, have a look. There are many videos on YouTube and all.
Sure. Thank you for the speech. Now, dear participants, I would like to give the floor to Miss Mona Diab. She is a professor of computer science in the Department of Computer Science, George Washington University, and she is a research scientist at Facebook Artificial Intelligence. Yes, Miss Mona, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm really, truly humbled to be among these panelists. Each one of the stories is just a showcase of resilience and perseverance and amazing women. So I'm very, very humbled and very proud to be among these panelists. So about myself, my educational background, I'm actually originally Egyptian, and I've been in the US now for 25 years. I came to the US to pursue my graduate studies. I started off in a career in computer science, shifted over to linguistics, and then went back to computer science. And it's kind of interesting how this whole thing started because, in Egypt, it's really interesting how we are really encouraged, women are really encouraged to pursue STEM, but to a certain limit. So you go like, okay, get a master's degree, okay, PhD, that affects a little bit of your marriage potential in a sense. So it was, at least in my day and age, I'm talking about the late 90s, my parents were very visionary, and they were like, you know what, you just go on your own to the US to pursue your graduate studies, and that's actually what ended up happening. But then I took a really different career path, because typically if you do computer science as your undergraduate and your master's degree, you continue getting your PhD in the same field. But at that time, I was very enamored by language, and specifically linguistics. So I decided to change majors mid-PhD to go for a PhD in computational linguistics, which is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about right now. So I got my PhD in a linguistics department, which was kind of, a stigmatized area, because people would go like, what, you're going to be a teacher? And I said, yeah, I'm going to be a teacher. And essentially what ended up happening is I got my PhD in the computational linguistics field. And I ended up actually getting a postdoc at Stanford University, and then moving on to becoming a faculty member at Columbia University, and then a faculty member at George Washington University. And currently I'm a research scientist with Facebook AI. So in addition to being a professor still. But the interesting thing was at the time, I don't want to say I defied stereotypes, but in a sense, family and even, academic advisors were always like, why are you doing this? And for me, it was a matter of pursuing my passion. I had sort of, I want to say, some kind of vision that I wanted to democratize information, democratize knowledge. And I felt like language was the vehicle toward that. And also I was always very interested in the cognitive makeup of human minds. So I felt like language is one way of figuring out this notion. So essentially what ended up happening is that I specialize in computational linguistics, which is basically, so that for those of you who don't know what this is, it's basically how computers process natural language. Now, when I say natural language, I'm talking about Arabic, English, French, German, Swahili, languages that are spoken by the human beings. And what we do is that we build models, we build computational systems that actually at least give you the impression that they understand language. So I'm not going to say that we totally understand language at this point, but it's basically a crossover between two fields, or multiple fields actually, to be totally open, where you have language, which is linguistics, the science of language, together with computer science, together with, and specifically within computer science, we focus on artificial intelligence, a field that's called machine learning, where machines are able to learn off signals on their own. So we build machinery that's able to learn automatically from seeing a lot of signals, a lot of patterns in data. And also psychology and philosophy play a role here. And I specifically have a very special interest in what I call responsible artificial intelligence. Is how do you build models responsibly? How do you build models that are ethically aware, that are that are explainable? And that's part of my role here at Facebook. So especially given the power of Facebook platform, this plays a big role in how we roll out products, how we roll out social media, and so on. So so basically, this has been sort of my passion and my field of interest. And as I said, I've always had this vision of democratization of knowledge. And believe it or not, my inspiration came from the Quran. So when I was a very young child, I grew up in England, in fact, and I learned Arabic sort of like at a later age, like around 8 years old or so. So I started, being fascinated by the fact that our religion is so based on a book and on language and the power of language in our lives. So and how it could make things happen, could destroy things. So that was sort of the original inspiration. And then I realized there is so much power that's given to language. Like even just looking at the content of the web out there, the amount of information that's out there that's only in English puts people already at a disadvantage if you don't speak English. So how do you actually get this information out to the global community in their own language, in their own cultural nuance, and so on? So, and just to make it closer to you, what our field what our field works on. So everybody here, I would imagine, has used Google or Google, whether you use Google Search or Google Translate. We build the models that power these types of engines. So this is what the field of computation linguistics is about. So I mentioned the aspect of responsible artificial intelligence, specifically within the focus of language. A lot of my work is also inspired by sort of the Islamic ceiling. So I'm always trying to bring our voice to the table as a Muslim scientist, and that has its own nuance. So I started wearing hijab in 2015. So before that, I was too afraid in the US to wear it. And it was basically a moment of sort of, I would say, eureka moment, where I was on the stage. We were the faculty, we were 7 Muslim professors in the department, in the School of Engineering as a whole, at George Washington University. And none of us, those of us who self-identify as Muslim, none of us wore the hijab. While our students, we had students from all over the world. And I would say maybe 20% of our female students were wearing hijab. And I looked around me and I was like, wait a second, I'm a practicing Muslim. I'm very proud of my religion. But at the same time, I'm sort of afraid to wear it, even though I was already tenured. But I was like, you know what? There's a stigma, because all of us in the science field know religion and science in the West don't mix. It's always considered like, oh, here she comes again, here he comes again with their religious views. They're considered fringe elements in our communities, and they're considered almost crazy, to put it mildly, in the West. So, but at that time I was like, wait a second, but I'm relatively successful. I'm already tenured. And we need to provide that mirror, apart from, of course, my personal faith of the importance of wearing the hijab for me as a Muslim woman. But I was like, wait a second, we need to have that role model. We need to have that mirror that could give women in our field the ability to feel like, you know what, this is not an impediment. This is not a barrier. So I decided to wear the hijab. And the reactions that I got were kind of interesting, because at the beginning people were going like, so there are some benefits and some weird things that happened. So the benefits were, when I go now to conferences, nobody offers me alcohol. Nobody tries to hug me, men. They don't try to hug me or kiss me, or which is kind of, I always used to go like, oh no, stop. Oh no, I don't do this. Oh no, I'm sorry. And now it became so easy. And now they go like, do you actually shake hands? So, so you get these kinds of responses. And I go like, let me think about that. You know what I mean? Like I joke around with this. But my point here is like, it made life so much easier. And, you know, it's, you know, I embraced my identity in a way that was very open. And there was the other side of it where, in fact, other women in the community were kind of like, why are you doing this? You don't need to, in the West especially. I mean, I don't live in an Arab country or a Muslim country. I live in the West. I live in the US, where nobody cares what you wear, actually, technically speaking. But in fact, you know, now I'm bringing more attention to myself, the fact that I'm actually wearing this hijab. So it's sort of like a double-edged sword. But personally, I never regretted taking that step and wearing the, and I actually call it the coming out of myself, of my identity in the open. But also, what makes this interesting is that, you know, people, especially if you're in an environment that cares about diversity and inclusion, they stop and listen because I look different, and the fact that I look different allows me the privilege of voicing my opinion openly. And of course, I make it very, very clear that I don't speak on behalf of Islam or on behalf of Muslims, but I reflect the perception of at least one individual from our community. So in general, I did face some adversity, but you know what, in the big scheme of things, I'd like to say that I adopted a growth mindset. And I do always feel like, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself. And this is the advice I always give young women and men, actually. And always, it's not just about women supporting women, it's also finding these allies in the men community, in the male community. And, you know, they could be very, very useful and very handy at times. But the other thing I wanted to say, we always talk about a culture of mentorship where more senior women or more senior people mentor younger people. But there is also another component that I'd love to emphasize in this setting, which is around sponsorship. So having more senior people sponsor younger people. What I mean by sponsorship is actually helping advance their careers, giving them encouragement, opening up doors for them. And this is something that I've dedicated a lot of my time to, where I try to, apart from going, you know, into the mentorship mentality of helping women and young, young professionals, you know, hone their game, hone their message. I actually try to open doors for them. And I'd encourage a lot of the senior women in our communities and senior people in our communities to think about that from that perspective, adopting a mentality of sponsorship. With that, I'm going to close, and thank you all for your attention. Thanks a lot for, again, having me on this panel. It's been an honor and a privilege, and yes, very much grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mona, for this inspiring speech. Now I would like to give the floor our last speaker, Ms. Sharifah Refida Datuwan Alvi. She is the professor in the School of Chemical and Energy, University of Technology of Malaysia. Yes, Dr. Sharifah, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you guys see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifah, and I'm from the Process System Engineering Center from University of Technology Malaysia. So first of all, I would like to thank ICYEF for inviting me for this Young Muslim Women Summit. It's a very honored to be here among all the panels. I'm also a professor in the School of Chemical and Energy Engineering, as well as the director and co-founder of Optimal System Engineering Sdn Bhd. Right, just as a start, because we were asked to share about stories, so maybe you guys have heard about so many stories already, and I just want to show you guys this. You might be wondering, why am I showing you guys a toilet bowl? Yeah, but actually this is among one of the stories that I would like to tell. So when I was looking at this toilet bowl, among the things that started my research was I was thinking, why on earth are we using very clean water from our water tap to flush the toilet? Yeah. So I was wondering that we are using the water tap for drinking water, but at the same time, we are using that same water to flush the toilet. So because of that, besides that, I also noticed that, especially in Malaysia, because water is quite abundant, and there are a lot of water wastages that happen in Malaysia, yeah, because of the abundance of water. But maybe in other countries, I believe this may not have happened. Yeah. So because of that, basically, yeah. Okay, let me just clear that. Yeah. So because of that, right? So according to the one of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also do not like people to waste. Yeah, he do not like people to do excess. Even in one of the hadiths, Sa'ad was asking him. He was telling Sa'ad that, what is this excess? And Sa'ad was saying, is there excess with water in ablution? And the Prophet said that, yes, even if you were on the banks of a flowing river where water is abundant, you should not waste water, and you should always find means and ways to minimize water. Yeah. And because of that, one of my main research, yeah, is towards going towards solving the water crisis. And as we know, water shortage is one of the highest global risks in the world. Yeah. So if you see what I've shown you previously, that we use water for our daily lives, but besides using water for our daily lives, we also use water for productions. Yeah. So for example, everything that we produce in the industries, we need water to produce all those equipments as well as products. We need water for agriculture. We even need water to produce electricity, power, and so on. So if there is a water shortage or water crisis in the world, so that will be a very major problem. That will affect all of us, including everything that we have now. Yeah? And the worst case is that half of the world's projected, it was projected by the United Nations that half of the world will live in a water-stressed region by 2050. Yeah? And worst of all, as you guys can see here, among the water crisis countries that is predicted in the future, and if you guys see what does all these countries have in common, we'll be surprised that they are among the Muslim countries. Yeah. So being in an OIC forum, I believe solving a crisis like this, either water, resources, is very, very important. And that was among the reason I was asking myself, what can we do to, for example, can we reuse lower water quality instead of using the water tap? Can we try to recover water from various sources, and what can be done to minimize wastages? Yeah. So that was how I began my journey. I began with my master in chemical engineering in University Technology Malaysia, and after that I convert my master to PhD, and I dedicated a lot of my research in this water minimization area of research, and I have done a lot of case studies on this. And after I have completed my PhD, I pursue my interest in this resource minimization. And I do a lot of deep research on how to minimize waste, resources, heat, power, and so on, using system engineering tool or process integration tool. Yeah. So my goal is clear. Basically, my goal is that I would like to reduce the waste, because Allah do not like the wasters, yeah, the people that waste in the world. Yeah. So just like a normal scientist, yeah, I'm just a normal scientist, like most of you are here. I believe most of you are super excellent. Many are very great scientists to be. Maybe you are already, or maybe you'll be in the future. So just like any other scientist, I was very passionate in my research. I published a lots of books as well as journals. Yeah. But after that, I was asking myself, is it enough that I publish all these research papers, research journals? And I was asking myself, have we done enough? Is it enough that my work is read by other researchers? Maybe they extend my work to other things, maybe they improve further my work. But is it enough that we stop at that direction in publishing our works and so on? So in my pursuit as a scientist, I was asking myself, how can I make my research reach the end users as well as consumers? And because of that, besides being a scientist, basically we use our engineering knowledge that we develop as a scientist, and we conduct a lot of projects with the industries. So we try to outreach a lot of people because we believe that research should not stop in the research papers. Research should be bring towards the users, towards the consumers. So as a scientist, even though I'm a scientist doing a lot of research, I also go to the industries a lot and do a lot of projects with industries so that my work can be implemented in the industries. And besides that, we also conduct a lot of capacity building because we believe that knowledge is very important, and we should always disseminate this knowledge to the industry so that people can use our technologies that we have developed as a scientist. And Alhamdulillah, we have outreached quite a number through our capacity buildings program, through our consultancy projects. And so we have outreached quite a number of companies within Malaysia as well as outside Malaysia. But then it triggers me again, basically, that we cannot outreach so many, yeah, even though we try to outreach a lot of industries in our country, even though we try to do a lot of capacity building, yeah, a lot of engineers come during the talks and so on, but there is a limit, yeah, because we cannot do so many projects. There are just a number of projects that we can do. So we were asking ourselves again at that time, how do we make our work more accessible so that more people, more ummah around the world can see and utilize our work as well as our research. Yeah. So after that, basically, we decided that we should do more. So we have decided to develop software and systems. Yeah, because if we can develop software and systems, this software and system, we can give it to other people throughout the world, and other people can benefit from the use of the research and so on. Yeah. So basically, from scientist, I work as an engineer. Basically, I'm still a lecturer, but at the same time, I provide a lot of consultancy guides as well as for the industries as well as the government. And then we do capacity building. But after that, we have decided that it's not enough, and we feel that to do more, we should try to develop system, as I have mentioned. So we have established a spin-off company in 2014 called Optimal System Engineering. Yeah. So basically, the vision of the company is we would like to produce or create a society practicing sustainable consumption and production. And our mission at that time is to advance circular economy, yeah, through innovative process integration and smart engineering tool. So from there, my journey began as an entrepreneur as well, following the scientists and so on. And among the things that we have created is, for example, we believe that changing people's behavior is the first thing, which is very important if you want to make sure that people goes towards sustainability. You can have all the technologies and everything, but if you cannot change the people's behavior in the first place, then people will just revert back to waste stages and so on. Yeah. So we believe in changing people's behavior as the first important thing to ensure sustainability, and we have developed a product which we call Sedar, which is a humanized smart energy system. Yeah, so basically this system, we incorporated all the smart energy system, like mobile apps. You can switch on, switch off the lights and so on by using mobile apps. But at the same time, it has a very unique function where we incorporated behavior change into the system. And this one, we incorporated IR 4.0, like gamification, IoT, team building, and so on into this kind of system. And we won a gold award for this project. Yeah. So we have implemented this system in hostel in our universities. And after that, we move on. And the next project that we have done is, for example, we believe that after we have changed people, the next thing is we need to have a proper management system. We want to ensure continuous and sustainable improvement. Yeah. So the next project that we have developed, yeah, is what we call the eSmart. So this eSmart basically is a smart energy system for us to do certification for energy management system. Yeah. So this project was funded, alhamdulillah, it was funded by a commercialization company in Malaysia, and it has also been implemented in hospitals in Malaysia. Yeah. So besides after management as well as behavior change, we believe that the technical part is the next important thing, and we believe that addressing the root of the problem that causes wastages is the most important thing. So we have also developed tools, for example, to address the root of the problem in the industries. So we have developed several technical tools to maximize resource exchange in the industries, which are these 3 softwares. Yeah. And finally, we understand that even though we try to minimize all the waste, all the energy, all the emissions, and so on, there is still emissions which we cannot go towards zero energy or zero emissions for now. So we believe in solving the end of pipe problems, and that was the reason we pursue in developing this ship emission management system for the ports in Malaysia. Yeah. So there were several other projects, and the last project that we did is because we believe that connecting the dots or connecting people together among stakeholders is very important so that change will happen. So as for me and my team, we are going towards a lot in circular economy research. So among the other unique product that our team has developed is a waste to wealth digital platform where we connect the dots among waste traders, yeah, R&D matching, yeah, people that produce research as well as commercialization products. And from this system as well, we collect big data analysis for us to give advice to the governments. Yeah. So basically what I would like to share here is not about the products mainly, but when, for example, as a scientist, for me, what is important is you have to have a purpose in everything that you do. The purpose is not just for career promotion, for example. The purpose is not just, for example, you want to have more money and so on. You have to have a bigger purpose in life. And if you have a bigger purpose in life, inshallah, I believe you can be successful in anything that you do. So you can have a purpose either to become a very good scientist, you can have a purpose to help Ummah, you can do community service or anything, but anything that you do, the most important thing is you have to believe in your purpose and you have to go towards that direction of your purpose. And if you see here, according to this Quran verse, we have not sent you, Nabi Muhammad SAW, except as a mercy to the world. And doing that, it means that we, as humans who are sent to earth, we should try to create rahmat in the world, yeah, towards creating mercy to the world. And going back to the topic of this forum, yeah, so the topic of the forum, they were saying that the sky is the limit. But if you guys see, maybe not. Yeah? Maybe the sky is not the limit, because research can be, for example, science can be even in the deep ocean. Yeah? It could also be in the outer space, in the looking at the universe, and it could also be within ourselves. Yeah? Like coronavirus, yeah, it has wreaked havoc throughout the world. That very small virus inside the body. Yeah, but what I want to highlight is that as women in science, you don't really have to go to the outer space. You don't really have to go deep down under the ocean. Actually, if you want to create change, if you want to go to the limits, yeah, basically discovery for me is not about finding new lands. It's not like finding new. It does not have to go like deep under the ocean and so on. But if, for example, you start by seeing things in a different new eyes or different perspectives, then that could be where you can create new change as well as new things. Yeah. So as a final words from me, be curious all the time. Always learn from others, from your mistakes, from hearing other inspiring stories. Always try to help others. Disseminate knowledge as much as you can as a scientist, and work in a team. Yeah, because for example, women especially like ourselves, we, for example, have family commitments and so on. So if you work in a team, then you can distribute tasks and you can help each other. So if you cannot go, for example, your team can go. So for me, working in a team is very, very important. So if there are challenges, of course there are challenges, especially like us, the women, we have to have a work-life balance. So we have to embrace these challenges and so on, yeah. And always try to see from different perspective. Like for example, the toilet that I have shown you guys in the first slide just now. So basically, a toilet, we use it every day. Yeah, but if we try to think and see it from different perspective, we can ask ourselves many questions like, why are we using clean water to flush this toilet, and so on. So from there, new research, new ideas can be created as well as generated. Yeah. And of course, among it is have a bigger purpose, yeah, like the one I have mentioned previously. And once you have identified your purpose, take action. Yeah, try to create new things, try to see people, try to disseminate all the knowledge and so on. And most importantly, of course, as women, we have lots of challenges, lots of limitation, but never give up. Never feel that we are inferior. Inshallah, if you have the right purpose, if you have the right mindset, if you have the right attitude, inshallah, Allah will guide our paths. Yeah. So according to this Abu Hurairah, yeah. So the messenger, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that when a person died, his deed come to an end except three things. Yeah. So among it, sadaqah, knowledge, as well as the descendants. Yeah. So if you can see here, if we leave knowledge behind as scientists, that is where we can go towards rahmatan lil alamin, where we can have mercy for the world. So I think that's all from me, and I pray that Allah will guide all our paths. So good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharifah, for this productive presentation. Yes, dear participants, before concluding this session, I would like to thank our honorable guests for their outstanding speech and presentation, and for being with us today and for accepting our invitations. Yes, dear our participants, please be informed that today we will have 3 more sessions, and we need to wrap up this session and see you in the next session. We need to give 3 minutes break, and then we will meet you there. Thank you.
Serious.